All right, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about a pretty stunning new study today, one that could totally change how we think about one of the most common vitamins out there. So look at this number, 50%. That is a huge number. And what it represents is, well, it's a massive shift in how we might prevent one of the scariest things that can happen in medicine. But 50% of what? That 50%, it stands for a reduction in the risk of having a second heart attack. Yeah, you heard that right. New research from Intermountain Health shows a way to potentially cut that risk in half for survivors. And get this, the key isn't some brand new expensive drug. It's a new way of using something you probably have in your medicine cabinet right now. Okay, so section 1, a stunning 50% reduction. You can imagine, when these findings were presented at the American Heart Association's big meeting, they made some serious waves. And for good reason. I mean, a result this big could literally change the standard of care for millions of people who've had a heart attack. And the lead researcher, Dr. Heidi May, was right there with the excitement. She said, "We observed no adverse outcomes when giving patients higher doses of vitamin D3 supplementation, which are exciting results." So not only did it seem to work, it was safe. That's huge. But to really get why this is such a game changer, we have to rewind a bit and look at a mystery that's been bugging scientists for years. Right, so section 2, the old vitamin D puzzle. Because look, to appreciate why this new study is so groundbreaking, you have to know that the history of vitamin D research has been, well, kind of confusing, to be honest. For a long, long time, researchers were staring at this big contradiction they just couldn't solve. And here's the puzzle, right here. On one hand, you have the observation. For years, study after study showed this clear link. People with low vitamin D levels tended to have worse heart health. Seemed obvious, right? But then you have the problem. Whenever they ran these big, expensive clinical trials where they just gave patients a standard vitamin D pill, nothing. No protective benefit for the heart. It was a total dead end, super frustrating. So what gives? What changed? Okay, this brings us to section 3, and this is the real aha moment of the whole story. The secret, it turns out, wasn't the vitamin, it was the strategy. The researchers basically flipped the question. Instead of asking, hey, what if we just give everyone the same pill? They started asking, what if we make absolutely sure the pill is actually working for each person individually? And they gave this strategy a name, target to treat. The idea is actually pretty simple, but it's also profound. Forget one size fits all. This is a personalized approach. The goal isn't just to hand someone a supplement and say, good luck. The goal is to get their vitamin D blood level to a specific, optimal target. And then, this is key, keep an eye on it. So how does it work in the real world? It's basically a 3-step process. Step 1, you test the patient to see where their vitamin D level is to begin with. Step 2, you give them a dose that's specifically calculated to get them over that target of 40 nanograms per milliliter. And then step 3, and this is really the secret sauce, you monitor them regularly and you adjust the doses needed. It's not a set it and forget it thing. It's a dynamic, active process. Okay, so the theory sounds great, right? But how did they actually prove it worked? Well, let's dive into the details of the Target D trial. This is the study that gave us that incredible 50% number. And you know, this wasn't some quick weekend study. This was a serious multi-year trial. It started back in April 2017 with over 600 people who'd all recently survived a heart attack. They followed these patients for years to see what the real long-term impact of this personalized strategy would be. Now, check this out. At the very beginning of the trial, a staggering 85% of these heart attack survivors had vitamin D levels that were below the target. Just let that sink in. It just goes to show how common this issue really is for this particular group of patients. And this right here is a huge clue as to why the old one-size-fits-all approach just didn't work. The typical recommendation you might see on a bottle is, 600 IU? But in this study, to get patients to that optimal level, many of them needed 5,000 IU, some even more. That is a massive difference. It's no wonder that just giving everyone a standard low dose wasn't doing much of anything. Now, the results were really interesting and very specific. So when the researchers looked at this broad category of major cardiac events, that includes things like strokes, heart failure, the whole shebang, they didn't see a huge difference overall. But when they drilled down and looked at one very specific outcome, having another heart attack, That's where the magic was. A 50% reduction. Undeniable. So, what's the big takeaway here? Where do we go from here? It really suggests that the future of this kind of medicine isn't just about what supplement you take, but how you take it. The future, it seems, is personal. So, why does this all matter so much? Well, for one, it completely shifts the focus from the pill to the plan. It's not about vitamin D, it's about the strategy. It really highlights the power of personalized monitored treatment. And of course, it offers some real tangible hope for reducing a huge health risk. The researchers are already planning bigger trials to confirm everything, which is exactly what you'd want to see next. And all of this leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on, doesn't it? We just saw how this personalized, target-to-treat idea completely changed the game for vitamin D. So could this same exact strategy, test, target, monitor, adjust, be the key that finally unlocks the true power of other common nutrients too? It's definitely something to think about.